Hey everyone, welcome to Mr. U's Reviews. Today I'm reviewing the new Edgar Wright film, Last Night in Soho. This film follows Eloise, who is an aspiring fashion designer. She moves to London to go to college and study fashion. And whenever she goes to bed at the place she stays, she gets transported back to the 1960s and gets to follow this glamorous singer. And although she enjoys it at first, being a part of this, classic glamorous world, it becomes obvious that something sinister is brewing. First of all, let's talk about the cast and characters of this film. And Thomasin McKenzie as Eloise gave a very strong performance in my opinion. She's just been rising over the past few years. But what she did very well here in this leading role is add a certain kind of sweetness to her character and a relatability that you enjoy kind of following throughout the film. You just like seeing what's gonna happen next with her character as she unravels this mystery, and that has a lot to do with her performance, which, as I say again, I thought was quite strong, and I'm excited to see what she does next in future films. And of course, Anya Taylor-Joy is in this film. She plays Sandy, who is the singer that Eloise encounters. And what she did very well is, add certain things to her character that it makes the audience know that this is someone from a different time period. In addition to just like the production design and everything, just looking at her character and the way she talks and acts, you really understand this is an aspiring singer from the 60s, not from present day, but really from that different time period. So she did that very well, and I've just enjoyed seeing her the past few years because she's really been on a roll. And also Matt Smith, who I don't really want to talk too much about, especially about his character, because there's a lot of things you learn about him, but I thought he was strong as well. And there was an actor, Michael Ajao, who I haven't seen in a film before, but I thought he also gave a really nice performance. He kind of was a friend to Eloise throughout the film, his character was, and it was nice just seeing the camaraderie that Eloise and Ajao's character have throughout the film as it goes on. So overall, I thought the performances were quite strong here, and it really added a lot to the film. Now let's talk about the directing of this film, and this film is directed by Edgar Wright, who is really known for making kind of more comedic films, or if his film isn't like a full-blown comedy, it's more like another genre with comedic elements mixed. Like in the past, he's done kind of horror comedies and much more, but over here he lessens on the comedic element and goes more for like a dramatic horror / mystery film, which I thought he did very well in, especially with just the way he directed everything and the way the shots look, and looking at like the scenes in the 60s. It is really immersive through his directing and the cinematography, which is another strong aspect here. And although he lessens on the comedic elements, he still adds his own flavor to the film that you usually see in his other films, such as like very unique editing and music choices. So it still felt like an Edgar Wright film, but it was a very unique film from him as well. So I kind of liked seeing a little switch in his filmography with this movie. So overall, I thought he did a nice job here directing the film and just really immersing the audience into the 60s whenever Eloise gets transported there. Also, let's talk about the story of this film, and for the most part, I was just totally intrigued in the film, very immersed into this story, seeing just the mystery elements here and there and the horror elements that come later in the film, and just following Eloise as a character. And the funny thing is, for like the first half of the film, it is not a horror movie at all, as this was kind of marketed. It gets a little into like the mystery element of the story in the first half, and you are kind of getting to wonder, just like the characters, like why is she getting kind of transported to the 60s and what's going on. And then it's the second half that kind of goes full-blown horror. And you know, you would think it was kind of jarring, but it was a nice kind of lead into the horror aspect of the film. And I was fine with the first half not necessarily being, you know, all that scary, because I was so invested in the characters and the story and mystery in this film. There are just two elements with the story that kind of bogged down the film for me. For one, you know, whenever Eloise gets kind of transported to the 60s, it is kind of confusing whether she kind of takes the perspective of Sandy, who is the singer, because there's many scenes where she's by a mirror, where Eloise is by a mirror, and in her reflection you see Sandy. So it's as if she kind of takes Sandy's perspective. But then in other scenes, you know, Eloise is sitting far away from Sandy, and it's like she's just kind of encountering what's going on and watching it. So I wish that was explained more, because it was kind of confusing, like which way it was trying to go to. And then with certain aspects of the ending, you know, something happens where it's like there's two sides to something, and it seems like the film is more sympathetic towards one side, like it takes a stance towards like one certain character. But then like in the next scene, it seems like it's going to the other side, to these other characters, and it wants you to feel more for them. So it made me unsure what the film was trying to say, what stance it was trying to take. And I can't really talk spoilers because, you know, I don't want to say any spoilers, so I can't really talk about it deeply. But that was also a little jumbled with the ending. So I really think the ending could have been improved in certain aspects, especially. So those two things kind of bogged down the film for me. But overall, the story was very intriguing. Overall, Last Night in Soho was an intriguing and immersive film. All the performances were strong, especially from Thomasin McKenzie. And the directing from Edgar Wright had his, you know, distinct flavors here and there, his distinct touches that he puts, whether it be the quick editing or the awesome music choices. And even then, it felt like a different Edgar Wright film. It's a very unique film in his filmography, even though it has his, you know, own flavors in there, as I like to call. And the story from start to finish, it was interesting all around. I was with Eloise on this journey, on this mystery and kind of horror adventure she goes through. There were just two aspects with the story that could have been improved, especially with the ending of the film. I feel like the film was being, you know, sympathetic towards a certain character, and then it kind of turned it around and we were maybe supposed to be against them, and it just kind of kept flip-flopping. So I didn't really understand what the film was trying to say about certain characters here and there. And also when, as I say again, when Eloise gets transported to the 60s, it is kind of confusing whether she takes the perspective of the singer Sandy, or if she's just encountering it from afar. But overall, this was a strong film by Edgar Wright, and I give Last Night in Soho an A-. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and as always, don't forget your popcorn. Until next time, from Mr. U to you, stay tuned.